Hi, this is Randy Hexter with another piano lesson. Today we're going to continue our exploration of keyboard harmony and talk about using major triads to make chord voicings. Now, last time we talked about practicing these triads at the keyboard to give ourselves cycles to get these under our hands and find the correct shapes and connect them together in a logical way. Today we're going to talk about using these triads to form different chords other than basic triad voicings. This concept is called triad over bass and is a very commonly used way of voicing chords both on the keyboard and when composing. So here we have, what we're going to do here is we're going to take a C root and we're going to put different triads on top of this C to form more complex chords. The first one we're going to look at here is playing a major triad up a minor third. So that's going to be E flat. We're going to play an E flat major triad over the C bass. Now, because C is the root, we're going to consider this to be a C chord, not an E flat chord. The result is a C minor 7 chord, root, flat third, fifth, flat 7. This is one of the more common ways of voicing a minor 7. Now, looking at the triad, we can play this 3 different ways at the least, giving us several voicing choices and allowing different melody notes on the top and allowing us to connect to the nearest possible chord when voice leading. Now, let's look at another one. Let's take a C bass. This time we'll put a major triad up a fifth. A perfect fifth would be G, B, and D. This gives us fifth, major 7, and ninth. This is typically thought of as a major 9 chord, despite the lack of the E or major third in there. Our ear will tend to fill that in given no other information. It's going to think of a major chord. Now, if I've suggested to your ear this is minor, then you might find something otherwise. But generally speaking, in the absence of a third, our ear tends to hear a major third, especially with a major 7th in there. Now, a major 9 chord, therefore. Next one, let's take the same C bass, and this time we're going to put a B flat triad. This would be a major triad on the flat 7. So this one, again, several ways to play the triad depending on what melody note you want or what you're coming from in terms of voice leading. So we call this, with flat 7, 9th, and 4th, we call this a sus 9 chord or just a sus 7 chord. Again, lacking, in this case, the perfect fifth, really not going to make much difference. The perfect fifth is somewhat of a filler tone compared to the other tones in a chord. So this is a very common way of voicing what we call the sus 7 chord. A couple other ones, maybe not quite as fundamental as these, is to, here we'll take our same C bass, and this time we're going to put an E major triad up a major third. Now this one here, we're going to see has a major 7th, a major 3rd, but a raised 5th. Major 7 sharp 5 is the typical name for this chord. Now this one, because it does have a really clearly 2 different keys going on at the same time, sometimes is on chord charts called a chord over bass. You might see E over C or A over F as the name for this chord, simply because it's a little less of a common practice chord. However, if you saw major 7 sharp 5 or major 7 plus or plus triangle or any of those chord symbols, this would essentially be what you would get. Now, a couple other ones. If I play a D major triad, which is on the major 9th or the 2nd, I'm going to have a triad, a D triad over C is going to give me a 13, 9, and sharp 11. Now, all those are essentially upper extensions, but we still do get somewhat of a Lydian type chord, especially if I add some stuff below it, or I add a dominant below it. Now, this triad over bass is a little more incomplete, but can still give us a nice color from time to time. Now, you can practice these through the cycles just like you practiced your raw triads. For example, let's look at minor 7ths going through this cycle of 4ths. I'm going to start with a C here. I'm going to be playing an E flat triad here, and then I just simply go around the cycle. And back to C minor. Now, you'll notice that I'm up an octave. It depends on where you start, how high you want this progression to go, but this is just to build your muscle memory. I also want to point out that it's unlikely in most pieces that you're going to go around all 12 chords in one real phrase. This tends to be more of an exercise to get your hands used to it. You will, however, see chords moving around several phases of this cycle, maybe not the entire one. You can take all of the different triad applications I just showed you through the cycle of fourths and the cycle of fifths, creating some muscle memory for the entire thing. Let's look at taking the flat 7 triad, or B flat over C, around the cycle. And again, it gives us some muscle memory. The muscle memory we built up practicing the triads through the cycle will still help our hands find these chords. It's just a new application for them. So, triad over bass harmony is quite a useful technique on the keyboard. And we will look more at this, how we can add tones to these chords, not just the raw triad, and how we can play them in open position next time. And I hope that helps you, and have a great day.